Okay, so I hope you can all hear me. Shortly, I'll be starting my second lecture. We'll just continue from where we stopped last week. Now, as you all know already, from last week we only have 1 hour, so I really need to get moving. So, if you can't hear me or whatever, please unmute and speak up. Okay, otherwise I'll keep moving. All right. Otherwise, I'll keep moving. Like I said, any questions can save it for the tutorial class. Okay, for lecture is just pay attention, and if you, for example, I get cut off, you can't hear me or whatever, the onus is on you to inform and let me know. Okay, otherwise I'll assume that everything is fine and keep moving. Okay, so we're going to continue from where we stopped last week's class. Okay, we are still looking at the aspect of accounting and society. We are still looking at the aspect of accounting and society. So this one today, part B, is more on interaction with society. Interaction with society. So first of all, we need to see look at the different areas where accountants can be found working. Okay, so these are the work environment for accountants: public practice, business sector, public sector, financial advice, non-profit, NGO. Okay, so accountants are found in an ever-increasing number of roles and relationships in societies. So if you see, the first one is public practice. Okay, this is supposed to be the most glamorous one. Okay, so for public practice, you have many different levels of firms. I think you will know this when you go for internship. Okay, so you have the big four firms. They are the big four. They are Ernst & Young, KPMG, Deloitte, and Pricewaterhouse. Okay, they are the and so many others. Okay, there are a few of them. They are second tier firms. And then we have the small partnerships, sole practitioners. Okay, so public practice, there are many different types of players in the market lah. Okay, the bigger one is the big four. Then you have the second tier firm. Then you have the small firms. So meaning this is what we call the public practice. Then we also have the business sector. So the first one is what they call as PAIB. PAIB is acronym for Professional Accountant in Business. So you can work as a professional accountant in business, meaning you're working as an employee. You're working for someone. Okay, it could be as an accountant, junior accountant, senior accountant, financial controller. It's not all large companies are listed, or it could be a large listed company. It depends where you are working. I mean, where accountants are working. Then we have the SMEs, small and medium enterprises, and then now lately more popular are the startups. Okay, startups. So you could be working as in public practice, or you could be working in business sector. And the other one, the big one in Malaysia, is the public sector, also known as the government sector. Government is the biggest employer in Malaysia. The last time I checked, the JPA, the Jabatan Perkhidmatan Awam, the Public Service Department, on the payroll, more than the last time I checked, more than 1.3 million. Okay, more than 1.3 million. So it's a big employer. It's a very big employer. So we have so many government departments. In Malaysia, we have 3 levels of government: federal, state, local, and we have got, I think, 13 states. Okay, so there's a lot of people working in the public sector. Then we have, you can be work as a financial advisor. for high wealth individuals, okay, you give them advice on where to park their money, okay, what to do with your funds. For business organizations or trusts and foundations, so it could be the financial advisor. Or if you are more interested, you are not so looking at the money aspect, okay, you want to work for NGO, non-profit sector. Non-profit sector, they could be charity, could be sporting club, could be cultural organization or whatever. Okay, so basically these slides give us a snapshot of the different roles and relationships in societies, the different work environments and examples for each one of them. Okay, so when we talk about accounting roles, activities and relationships, this is what we mean. Okay, so these are the different sectors in which accountants are found working. Okay, as I said earlier just now, the public practice is still the most glamorous. Okay, it's still the most glamorous. We say they are the big boys. Okay, they are the big boys in accounting. Okay, the so-called the most glamorous life, you like. So of course we start with the big four firms. The big four firms, then you have the second tier firms, then you have the sole practitioners, one partner or partnership, 2 people, 3 people, whatever. So these are the public practice. In public practice, it could be big four, it could be second tier, it could be sole practitioner or partnership. So the type of services they provide quite similar. Okay, quite similar. The first one is audit assurance. This is what they call as bread and butter. Bread and butter, audit assurance. All of them provide these audit assurance services. They also provide financial management services. They also provide tax services. They also provide forensic accounting services. They provide insolvency advice, internal audit services, and business advising, general business advising. So these are some of the different areas in which you find accountants involved. Okay, so assurance and audit and tax is what they call the bread and butter. Everybody provides these services. Depending on the size of the firm, probably if it's a sole practitioner and a small practice, 2 partner, maybe they might just stick to assurance, audit, assurance, and tax services. They may not have the capacity, the number of staff required, the expertise required to provide the other services like financial management, forensic accounting, insolvency, and so on and so forth. Okay. This is just a snapshot. This is just a snapshot of the different areas in which the accountants are found to be working in. Okay, it could be a big four, could be a second tier, could be a small firm. But as far as the services they provide is quite similar. It's quite similar. Okay, the next category, as I mentioned just now, is the PAIB. They call it PAIB, Professional Accountants in Business. So this is where you are working for someone, not working for yourself. This one just now is working for yourself, self-employed. You are providing a service and you're getting paid for it. Okay, you provide your service and then you get paid for it. Now the other category, this one is the PAIB. PAIB is where you work for people and you get paid a salary. Okay, for example, the examples of PAIB would include things like board member, acting as a board member of a company, board of directors, or you could be finance director or CFO, finance director or CFO, or you could be a financial accountant, treasury accountant, risk manager, strategic management accountant, internal auditor, HR accountant, or company secretary. So just some examples, examples of the type of work being done by PAIB, Professional Accountants in Business. So you could be a board member, you could be finance director, you could be CFO, whatever. Okay, so just some examples of the different type of work being done by Professional Accountants in Business, or PAIB. Okay, the next category is working in SME. SME stands for small and medium enterprises. Now, as far as Malaysia is concerned, based on data from the Companies Commission of Malaysia, CCM, in Wisma Central, I think about more than 80%, of companies in Malaysia come into this bracket. So most likely if you end up in accounting job, you will be ending up in this type of organization, SME. Okay, SME is a small and medium enterprise. So they vary in size, number of employees working, the ownership control, geographic dispersion of resources. It's just a broad term to describe them, SME. Now, accounting function within an SME are broadly the same as in the large business environment. So what accounting function are we talking about? These are the accounting functions. Okay, accounting function could be audit, could be financial management, could be tax, and so on and so forth. So these are quite similar. It's just the size of the firm that you're working for, it differs. The size differs, but the accounting function are broadly the same, whether you're working in SME or working in a large company. Now you have an organization called PAIB committee. PAIB committee of IFAC. IFAC is the International Federation of Accounting Committees. Is the global body. Is the global body, which I think, is not mistaken, is based in New York, and they have a membership all over the world. Professional accountants body all over the world are members of IFAC. So Malaysia, we have MICPA and MIA. Okay, they are members of IFAC, the global body. So they provide leadership and guidance on relevant issues pertaining to professional accountants in business and business environment in which they work. And they have come out with this paper called The Role and Domain of Professional Accountant in Business. PAIB. Okay, you will see this term in the literature. They call it PAIB. So accountants can serve as financial advisors, or they can also serve as external advisors to SME. Meaning that we are not on the payroll. We are not on the payroll of the SME, but as and when they need our services, they will approach us. So meaning that they outsource. They outsource. And whenever they need our services, they will contact us. So we are being paid according to the advice that we give to them. Okay, based on the advice we give to them. So as and when they need our services, they will contact us, and accordingly we are paid. Or before we provide the services, we discuss with them what are we required to do, how many hours is this work, how many days, how many hours is this work going to take, and accordingly they will reward us or remunerate us. Okay, so this is what we call accounting in SMEs. Then, as I mentioned just now, in Malaysia, the public sector is a very big sector. Most accountants are working in public sector. Okay, most accountant, because we have this Jabatan Accountant Negara and so on and so forth. They employ a lot of staff based in all the different states in Malaysia, all the different government agencies. Okay, so it's a very big sector. Public sector is the government sector. So including government and regulatory bodies, governments and their agencies. So we have many GLCs in Malaysia. GLC stands for government linked companies. We have a lot, many GLCs. So all of these agencies require economic, finance, accounting, and audit staff for the operations. So maybe some of you, after you graduate, might end up working for the GLCs, government linked companies. But it's still part of the public sector, still part of the public sector. But whatever it is, whether you're working in the private sector or in the business sector or in the government sector, the accounting roles are quite similar. The accounting roles are quite similar. And then last but not least, we have the NGO. NGO, non-profit, not for profit, or NGO. Now increasingly in Malaysia, more and more people are getting involved with NGO. NGO is non-government organization, non-profit. So these are legal or social entities formed for the purpose of producing goods or services. Their status does not permit them to be a source of income. Okay, when they register with the Registrar of Societies, okay, these are non-profit, so they don't come under CCM. We have two in Malaysia. One is the CCM, Companies Commission of Malaysia. Okay, Companies Commission of Malaysia is if you are formed as a company, a limited company, then you must register with the CCM in Wisma Central. Now, if you are a non-profit, then you must register with the Registrar of Societies, or what they call as Pendaftar. I forgot the full name. Pendaftar Masyarakat or Pertubuhan. It's a non-profit lah. Okay, so whatever it is, you need to register. Just a matter of where you register. If you are a profit-making company, big or small, you go to the CCM. If not, you go to the Registrar of Societies. So what is their purpose? They are formed for the purpose of producing goods or services. Their status does not allow them to be a source of income. So they cannot be looking to raise money to make profit. Okay, that's not the reason they are formed. They are formed to carry out services to help society, not with intention of making profit. Okay, so this also can vary in size. Some of the charitable foundations are very, very big. They can be large charitable institutions, or they can be a small local sports club. So long as you're collecting funds from your members, you're collecting sponsorship, subscription, and so on, in Malaysia, under the law, you need to register with the Registrar of Societies. So as the complexity of tendering and accountability requirements grows in this sector, okay, like I said just now, nowadays they are getting bigger and bigger. We have like Mercy Malaysia, for example, which is an NGO. They send their doctors and medical staff to different locations around the world. Wherever there's a conflict, they go there, they provide medical services. Or for example, when there's an earthquake somewhere, for example in Turkey or in Iran or wherever, then they send their staff. Okay, so this is a non-profit, but they need to be registered. And now, because they're collecting money, you a donation from public, so they need to employ professionally qualified staff in order to enhance the efficiency and effectiveness. Okay, so there are many NGOs in Malaysia now. They are involved in activities not just within Malaysia but overseas. So in order for them to carry out the activities, sometimes they get a grant from the government. To start up, they get a grant, and then to sustain themselves, to carry out their work, so then they need to collect funds from the public. So when you collect money from the public, you have to be accountable to them, to the public. They want to know what you should do with our money. How did you spend the money? So for that reason, they also need to employ professionally qualified staff in order to improve their efficiency and effectiveness. Okay. So again, I come back to this first slide here. Okay. So these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 main sectors in which accountants are found to be working. Public practice, business sector, public sector. Don't confuse. Public sector in Malaysia refers to government. Okay, in Malaysia, when you say public sector, it refers to government. And then you act as a financial advisor, or you could be in the NGO. So these are the 5 main areas in which we find accountants working. Okay, so I've gone through them individually. So now, before I proceed further, I'm going back to the chat area to check. Are there any questions? Please ask now. Okay. Are there any questions? Have you been listening to me all this while? Can you indicate in the chat area that you were able to hear me? Because otherwise, I just keep on talking to myself. I just want some feedback. I need feedback. Can you hear me or not? Are you able to hear me clearly or not? Can you put the answer in chat area? I want the feedback. As I mentioned before, last semester it happened to me once, more than once. Talk for 2 hours. But then later on, I realized when I went back to Teams to check my recording, there was no recording there because I had been cut off. But none of the students said to say has to indicate to me. So I don't want that to happen again this semester. So please, all you have to do is just unmute and speak up. and let me know. Sir, can't hear you. So you have been cut off. Otherwise, I wouldn't know. Okay. So from time to time, I'll come back to the chat area to check. So any questions based on the few slides that I've gone through so far? Any questions, please ask so I can clarify further in case not very clear. Now, as you're aware, now it's 10:24 already, or 11:24. This time lecture is 1 hour only, so really have to rush through lah. Okay, so if you have any questions, burning questions, keep it and bring it in the tutorial class. Okay, otherwise I will just keep moving. Takut I cannot finish all my slides. Okay, so far I don't see any feedback here. So there's no feedback. I have to assume everything is clear. Okay, I have to assume that everything is clear. So like I said, even if you can't hear me or not clear, whatever slide is not clear, slide I cannot see, please give me the feedback. I need the feedback, very important. If not, I will just keep moving. I assume everything is fine. Okay, so I'll keep moving. All right, it's coming to half an hour. Okay, now we come on to the discussion of the social impact of accounting. So first question is, does accounting have a positive social impact? Second question is, can that impact be negative in some circumstances? What this saying is basically, is it positive all the time? Or could it be sometime it can be negative? Reporting of positive and negative financial results. Positive means company doing well. Okay, company doing well, making profit year by year, increasing. Negative means company making loss. So company, sometime when they are in that situation, they try to hide it. They try to minimize it, okay, because they can see the impact on the public, social impact. So that's why the first two bullet point is asking about the impact. Is it positive all the time? Or in some cases, could it be negative? So that's why you have a question mark at the end. Question mark at the end. Okay, so social impact. So let's look at some examples so that you can understand this concept of social impact. Okay, now I'm sure you've come across this term, earnings management. Earnings management. Okay, that's a very polite way of saying it. If people want to be very rude or very blunt, they will say fiddling with the books. Fiddling with the books. Because in accounting, I think you are now in SEM 4, so you have done, I assume you have done accounting in SEM 1, SEM 2, SEM 3. So you will realize from your SEM 1 that accounting is there are many areas in accounting which are subjective. And because this is subjective, it is can be play around with. Okay, some people use the term cook the books. Cook the books. Don't show the real picture. Hide it. Okay, remember we first lecture we talked about public interest versus self-interest. Public interest says that don't hide anything. You're not supposed to hide anything. You're supposed to be transparent. Supposed to be accountable. But self-interest, you start thinking, oh, if all this comes out, what happened to my job? Will I lose my job? This is where the what they call the dilemma, the ethical dilemma. I want to keep my job, so I have to think. Okay, this is a negative result. Maybe the public may not look up on this favorably. Could impact on me. Maybe I might lose my job. All these things start playing in their mind. Okay, so this is what we mean by social impact of accounting. Social come from the root word is society. The root word of social is society. So we need to say that as accountant, we are not living in a vacuum. We are not living in a vacuum. So whatever decisions we make, especially if we are very high up in the organization, for example, like the CFO or finance director, so you need to think very carefully, what would be the social impact of what I'm going to announce? So if it is positive news, no problem lah, no problem. I'm happy to release this. I'm happy to blast this. I'm happy to announce this on social media. But if it is like not so good news, some people might lose their job. Some people might get a salary cut. Some people might. I think you get the picture, right? So that's called negative. So when it comes to negative, that is when most companies are hesitant. Hesitant to be fully transparent. Hesitant to be giving the actual result. They hold back. They hold back. This is why we come back to the discussion from first lecture. Public interest versus self-interest. So this is when the self-interest cap come into the picture. They wear the self-interest cap. I want to safeguard my job. I want to keep my job. If I start thinking, oh, if I release this, if I disclose this information, maybe I might lose my job. Maybe I won't get my increment. Maybe I won't get my bonus. Things like that. Okay. So social, this is called the social impact. So as I said just now, accountants are not living in a vacuum. We are living in society. So whatever we do, at the end of the day, there will be an impact on the society. It could be a positive impact, could be a negative impact. So let's look at social impacts of higher levels of depreciation. Now, depreciation is one of those areas in accounting which is subjective. And because it is subjective, it can be abused. It can be abused. Like for example, now we know there are many different ways of providing for depreciation, right? You have a straight line method, you have a reducing balance method, you have sum of digits method, and so on and so forth. Depending on which method we choose, the quantum of depreciation will be higher in the earlier part and lower in the later years. If we go for straight line, so the amount is fixed, the same every year. So if the company says that, okay, the company tells you, oh, this year it looks like our turnover is not so good, our operating costs have gone up. So now let's see how we can slash some of those operating costs. So I see the financial statements, okay, I look at the financial statements. I see that one of those operating costs is a depreciation. Depreciation of PPE, depreciation of building, depreciation of machinery, depreciation of vehicle. In total, the aggregate is quite high. So how can we bring down this figure? Can you give me some advice? You are the accountant. So we can play around with this. Whereas if, for example, if this particular year is a bumper year meaning good profit, good turnover, and then we expect a higher net profit, then your employer says, oh, this year profit looks quite high, maybe we will have to pay more tax to the Inland Revenue Board. So can you suggest to me some methods or some techniques? Now, this is called income smoothing. Income smoothing. How we can minimize our tax liability. Yes, so because we want to pay less tax. So again, we can play around with depreciation. Okay, depending on our bottom line. If the bottom line shows a profit very high, an employer is not happy. No, he's happy, but he don't want to pay tax. He's happy, but don't want to pay what he should pay to Inland Revenue Board. This is where the income smoothing, earnings management, and all that comes in. Okay, so basically, what I'm trying to say here is, accounting is not black and white. It's not black and white. There are many areas. For example, the most common one is depreciation. Okay, where we can sort of quote unquote play around with the depreciation, so that according to our bottom line situation, If the profit looks like coming less, then we say, okay, let's adjust the depreciation to make the profit higher. Let's make the depreciation lower. See how we can bring down the depreciation. If on the other hand, if it looks like this is a bumper year, you're making good profit, but then your employer says, yes, good profit, but then we have to pay so much to the Inland Revenue Board. So can you advise me how to bring down this one? So we look at playing around with the depreciation. So this is what we mean by impact of higher level of depreciation or lower level of depreciation. So can play around with this. We can play around with this depreciation. So just be mindful. This is why we're having this discussion on the social impact of accounting. Social impact, meaning accounting can impact society. Either can be positively impact, favorably impact, or negatively impact. It can be both ways. Okay, it could be positive or negative. Okay, now because of these issues, our credibility as a profession now being questioned. Questioned by who? Questioned by the public. Public, we say we trust these people to provide us public service, contribute to effective governance. But it looks like we cannot rely on them. Okay, they're doing a lot of hanky-panky. They are abusing our trust in them. This is what we mean by credibility of the profession under challenge. It's not a problem just in Malaysia, but it's a worldwide thing. It's a worldwide thing, not just in Malaysia. Okay, so be clear. Just Google and you will see so many accounting scandals in UK, in Australia, in Canada, in New Zealand, in South Africa, in you name it. Okay, so what I want to say is it's not unique to Malaysia. So accounting needs to be perceived as providing a public service, contribute to effective governance of organizations, both in the public sector and private sector. Public sector, as I've said, in the context of Malaysia, refers to government sector. I think we don't need to talk further. We've had a major corporate scandal in Malaysia, which has gone all over the world. It's known all over the world. Okay, I don't need to mention the name. It is so well known. Now, technical actions and behaviors as accountant are under scrutiny. Under scrutiny by whom? By the public. Recently, we had one major scandal. I think what's the name? The company I think is a Etika Global or Global something. It's a company which was in the media for all the wrong reasons. Okay, can't remember the name of the company, but a very recent case. Just Google. Just Google. Okay, they wanted to sack their auditor and get another auditor. So technical action and behavior of accountants is under scrutiny. So when we fail to perform our work to adequate standard and organizations experience trouble and distress, the credibility of the profession is called into question. By whom? My question is by whom? By the public. Okay? They have very high expectation of us. Because we are so-called professional. Remember, in the last lecture we spoke about the attributes, 8 attributes to be a professional. So we are very proud. We fulfill all these criteria and therefore we are professional. But when we start doing things like this, creative accounting, poor audit quality, chincai work, what they call in auditing as lack of due diligence. Okay, this is a Malaysian slang, chincai, but the official name is lack of due diligence. Lack of due diligence. Creative accounting. Lack of auditor independence. Auditors are supposed to be independent, but they are colluding with the company. Oh, there are many cases now. Okay, you'll be surprised. You will be surprised. Colluding. Collusion means pakat. Colluding. Lack of auditor independence. Financial accounting distortions. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So what do these things contribute? It reduces our credibility. People will say, oh, we rely on these people, but looks like we can't rely on them. They're supposed to look out for us, but they're looking out for themselves, looking out for their own pocket. looking out for their own bonus. Now, over the long term, if this keep on happening, okay, if this keep on happening, what will happen is there might come a time, they might, I don't know when, but there might come a time when the public says, enough is enough. I just buy the software and do this myself. Now got a lot of software already, artificial intelligence, blockchain, you name it. So don't need to go to this audit firm, accounting firm. They just don't do their work properly. The creative accounting, poor quality audit. Auditor, we expect them to be independent, but instead they are colluding with the company to cheat who? To defraud who? To defraud the shareholders. The poor shareholders, they're relying on the auditor, but instead the auditor is colluding with the company. Don't tell me it doesn't happen. It happens. It happens a lot. Okay. And financial accounting distortion. So what I am concerned with is in this lecture is credibility. Credibility of the profession under challenge. Under challenge means being questioned by the public. Now, if this happens over time, over a period of time, there might come a time when the public will say, we don't need these people anymore. We rely on them, but they let us down. We put our faith in them, but they let us down. I invested all my money in this company because the previous audit report said that, oh, this company very good, true and fair view. So I relied on that. You see what happened? Company went bankrupt. I lost all my savings. Okay. So if this happens too often, over time, then the credibility will be challenged. The public will start questioning, do we really need these people? We cannot rely on them. Okay. So I hope it doesn't happen, but given some of the recent scandals that we have had and some very major scandals, which involve unfortunately some of the big four firms, so public start questioning. Public start questioning. Okay, please go and read up on the 1MDB scandal, and you can read up on the internet. Just Google, type 1MDB. There's a lot of information there. Unfortunately, lecture is only 1 hour. I can't go into that. But if you bother to go and read the business press, a newspaper like The Edge, these are the business press, okay? Business Times, the Star business pages, you will know what I'm talking about, okay? So I just want to summarize the whole discussion by saying that the credibility of the profession now being challenged, being questioned. Now this is problematic. This is problematic. It's like telling, oh, I went to the doctor. I was hoping that he would tell me what's wrong with me, diagnose the problem, and prescribe the medication. Diagnose the problem, prescribe the medication. But instead, my problem got worse. Then it becomes an issue, credibility under challenge. I'm just using an example from the medical profession. We also, as the accounting auditing profession, we are facing this challenge right now. Okay, so when answering questions like this in the exam, please, I just mentioned to my earlier tutorial class, don't just cut and paste from the slides. Cut and paste from the slide, not to say answer is wrong, but you will just get the bare minimum mark. You're hoping to score, elaborate, give example. Okay, I said this earlier in the tutorial class, and I'm repeating what I said. Elaborate, give examples. If that's what you're intending to score, okay. If you just want to cukup makan, want to pass, okay, fine. Cut and paste from the slide. Okay. So now restoring credibility. Now earlier we said the credibility has been damaged. Public questioning our credibility. Can we rely on these people? Looks like cannot rely. So now then the profession come together and say, okay, now what we need to do to restore the credibility? How can we repair the damage? How can we repair the damage? Okay, then they came up with some of these steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So like for example, if the question were to ask you, okay, how can the accounting profession restore their credibility? If you, for example, you say 1.1 establishment, point 2 accounting standard blocked by law, editor 3, 4, 5. It's not to say wrong, but you need to elaborate, give examples. Okay, today because it's early semester, I'm giving you the hint. Okay, don't come and tell me later, sir, hey, why this fellow got a A, I only get a B or I get a C. Okay, so that's my answer to you. I'm giving you the feedback now. We're just in week 2, so think about it seriously. If you want to just cut and paste from the slide, throw back to me, vomit back, no. Of course, I cannot fail you. This answer is not wrong. But do you deserve an A? Answer is definitely no. Okay, so establishment of Financial Reporting Council, accounting standards are backed by law. This one is in Australia, but in Malaysia, we still haven't come to that stage yet. So please keep in mind, this one, we haven't come to the stage where accounting standards are backed by law. They are not backed by law. In this country, belum lagi, not yet. Okay. Auditors apply the code of ethics. Auditors must apply the code of ethics. And FRC, which stands for Financial Reporting Council, is responsible for auditor independence. Enhanced regulation. Here we have our regulators. In Malaysia, we have our regulators. Who are the regulators in Malaysia? We have the Securities Commission of Malaysia. Keep in mind, this is very important in this subject, Securities Commission of Malaysia. And then we have the CCM, Companies Commission of Malaysia. Then we have, if the company is a listed company, we have the Bursa Malaysia. Okay, so these are some of the regulators. And then if you are involved in something involving CBT, criminal breach of trust, then of course the MACC or SPRM will come in. Okay, MACC, Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission. Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, or in Malay they call it as SPRM. And then adoption of international standards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you need to elaborate. Okay, don't just throw back to me. 1, this, 2, this, 3, this, 4, this. Let me see, no, 6, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if the question were to ask you, for example, how can we restore the credibility of the accounting profession? Suggest some steps. Okay, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, step 6. Throw back to me the slide. Of course, you are not wrong. All right, but don't expect to get the A. I want you to elaborate, okay, and support answer by giving example. So I'm telling you, awal-awal, beginning of semester, this is the way. Okay, so please go to internet, go to other sources, and get additional information to support and back up your answer. Okay? Don't just throw back to me word for word, line for line from the slide. Okay, so these are some of the measures which have been taken to restore the credibility. Why? Why we bother to do it? Because of the damage. Because of the damage. These are some of the issues which would cause the accounting profession to credibility to be reduced. When your credibility is reduced, meaning that people lose their trust in you, lose their faith in you. You become problematic. Why? Because I'm relying on this for my bread and butter. I'm providing this service. It's just like one day people say, don't waste time, don't go and see the doctor anymore. Let's just what do you call, self-medicate. Google. Okay, these are my symptoms. Google. These are the treatment. These are the prescription. That would be a very sad day. I hope it doesn't happen to us in the accounting profession. When they say, people say, don't need to waste time, go and see these people for what? They're not going to help us. They're going to make the problem worse. Okay, so these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps which have been taken to restore. Restore means to bring back. Okay, to bring back the image which has been damaged, which has been destroyed. By what? By what? By some of these unethical actions. Creative accounting, poor audit quality, poor audit quality is what they call lack of due diligence, lack of independence, and distortions, financial accounting distortions. So all of this will result in our profession, accounting profession, auditing profession, credibility reduce. People say, wasting time, no need to see them. Okay. So now there are two aspects here. One is the technical skills, knowledge and experience. Financial reporting, taxation, financial analysis, management accounting, IT, company law, and so on and so forth. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is what we call TKSE. Now all of these you're going to acquire from your studies in Taylor's University. Okay, through different modules. Some in SEM 1, some to SEM 3, some 4, SEM 5, SEM 6, whatnot. So hopefully by the time you grad, you have all these skills. This is called the technical skills, knowledge and experience. It comes in different modules. So this one you will acquire in Taylor's through your as you progress through your studies. Now this one is the more important one, SSKE. This is what I'm trying to inculcate in my class. Actually, I'm trying to do it by getting you to participate. Today is second week. I hope you will keep this in mind. Soft skills, knowledge and experience. Take it from me, very important. Most majikan, most employer now looking for this. Everybody who apply for job got a high CGPA. So how can they differentiate? Okay, so you need to develop this. Listening skill, understanding complex and difficult issue, communicate effectively. That's why I'm asking you to speak up. Okay lah, lecture we got no time, never mind, I can understand lah. Okay, I'm also rushing through. But at least during the tutorial, you unmute, you speak up. I know what you are scared about, I cannot understand. After all, you're just talking to your fellow classmates. You're not talking to the whole world, talking to your fellow classmates. Okay, so there's nothing to be shy about. Discuss and debate without hostility. I do welcome that. If you don't agree with me, you can say, sir, I don't agree, I got my own view on this. I'm more than happy to hear. I am more than happy to hear. Okay, I'm happy if you speak up. Okay. Persuade. Try to persuade. You want somebody to see your point of view, persuade. Persuasion is better. Manage your time and deadlines, especially in the working in audit firm. Sometimes you're under pressure. Come to June, all companies are rushing to finalize their accounts, the financial report. So if you're in the audit firm at that time, memang you'll be working at night time, weekend. Okay, I know this. Many of my ex-students are working, and they share with me their experience. And improve your capabilities. So this one, as I mentioned before, you can learn it in the university. The 6 semesters before you graduate, plus two internships. So you will pick all this up. Now this one you have to develop yourself. That's why we have tutorial, and I strongly encourage you to participate. Don't just sit down there quietly, don't open the mouth, never say anything. You need to participate. Give feedback. You can discuss, debate. I don't have any issue with that. Okay? So look at all these areas which you need to strengthen. Okay, this is very important. Okay, I'm sharing with you. Many of you soon will be graduating, looking for work. This one very important. Most employers are looking for this aspect. So those who are successful, sometimes it's not they got the first class or they got the highest CGPA, but they are strong in these areas. So you work on it. Okay, you can only work on it. You can only help yourself. If you don't know, we can't help you. We can only advise you. We can guide you. Like I said, the tutorial is the time when I want you to speak up and discuss your answers confidently. Okay, so if you are, for example, wrong, then we'll correct you. Okay, so don't worry that, oh, I look like a fool. No, there's no such thing. Okay. So like I said, these are the two very important aspects. CPA stands for Certified Public Accountants. Formal CPD. Okay, once you graduate, you have to attend class. Not just graduated, no more class. It's called CPD. Lifelong learning. They call it lifelong learning. So CPA Australia recognizes both the technical skill aspect and the soft skill aspect. These two aspects are very important. So the technical skill you can pick up in the classroom, pick up in during your 6th semester in TU. But as time passes, then you can see the line there. SSKE becomes more important. Soft skill becomes more important. You might ask yourself, hey, why? We started together at the same time in this one. He's a partner, I'm still a manager. Why? Why is it we have the same qualification? I'm also CPA, he also CPA, but I'm still a manager, but he's a partner. That's why this SSKE, very important. Okay, so it's not just a technical skill, you must have the business skill, personal effectiveness skill, the ability to speak and voice your opinion confidently, leadership skills. Okay, so think about it. Think about it for the rest of the semester. I don't want to harp on this all the time, okay? And after you also get bored of listening. Oh, he's always saying the same thing every time. If we are still beginning early semester, I'm telling you this. So if you think it's good for you, you take it up seriously, okay? Okay, so this module has explored what it means to be a professional accountant. Okay, I've already those 8 attributes we discussed last week. 8 attributes. Okay, look at it. We are under challenge, no doubt. Many scandals in Malaysia and worldwide. And we have to make sure the society benefits from us, that we are still relevant. It's not just a matter of preparing account and financial reporting. This is only the technical side. We must also have the soft skill. Okay, so we have discussed the CPA Australia process to ensure members meet the required standard of professional conduct and to monitor and manage members' conduct. Okay, so hopefully at the end of this, okay, as I said, unfortunately, this time we only got 1 hour. So, any questions, please leave it for the tutorial class. I'll go and get the thing for the attendance. Just bear with me. Okay, so this is the passcode. If you can't see, then I will share it in the chat area. So quickly do your attendance before the screenshot. Quickly do your attendance. 42VSJ5. 42VSJ5. Quickly do it before the screenshots. I repeat, 42VSJ5. So any questions? We're coming to the end, so only got 5 minutes. If it's a quick question, I'll try to answer you. Otherwise, bring it for the tutorial class. Participate during the tutorial class. Give me the feedback. Don't just keep quiet. Otherwise, the whole semester is going to be very boring. Okay, I hope you take my advice seriously. Work on your soft skills. Work on your soft skills. Okay. End of the day, the majikan is looking for this. Employer is looking for this. Especially nowadays. Okay, so many applying for jobs. So if there are any questions, okay, I suggest if there are any questions, you keep it for the tutorial class. Okay, because I think we only have a few minutes left. So right now, I'd rather you did your attendance. Please do the attendance before the screenshots.